Hi everyone and welcome to this webinar. Before I start, please say me in the comments in the answer and question box if you can hear me well, please. All right, ahead if you can hear me without problems. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, let's start. Again, welcome to this webinar. My name is Marley Vallaneda. I am a post-sales engineer of EPCOM. And today we are gonna talk about how to do a VLAN configuration with Reyee networks. First of all, let me ask you to please scan this QR code with the Reyee and Reyee application. It's very easy. You only have to search in your App Store on the Google Play Store and look for the Reyee app, download and later scan this QR code. I'm gonna wait 2 minutes and later we're gonna start. Okay, now let's begin. If you didn't scan this QR code again, I will show you after we finish the webinar. So first of all, let me telling you about what is a VLAN because it's the main topic of today. So basically, a VLAN is a way to logically divide a physical network into virtual segments. A VLAN allows a physical local area network, or LAN, to be divided into several virtual subnets, enhancing the network efficiency, security, and flexibility. What means, as we can see in this image, we can split the network in various VLANs. For example, in the accounting department, into the security department, into engineer department, and with with this feature of the network. So this basically is how to a VLAN works. So if we are talking about the VLANs, we have to talk about ports and about the type of ports that we can see into the network. For example, we have two main ports of types of ports. Now we have an access port, and as we can see, an access port is a switch port assigned to a single specific VLAN. This is very important. The device connected to the access port can only communicate with other devices within the same VLAN. This type of port is suitable for connecting end devices, such as computers, printers, that only need to communicate with a specific VLAN. As we can see in this image, this part of the network is connected by switches. And here, all these ports must be an access port. Why? Because they are directly plug and directly connecting into end devices like a laptop, a printer, or maybe an IP phone. That's why we have to use an access port for this type of connection. And for other side, we have trunk ports. And a trunk port is a switch port that can carry traffic of multiple VLAN. Traffic entering and leaving through a trunk port carries VLAN tags. This is very important. allowing each packet to be identified as belonging to a specific VLAN. Transports are used to connect switches to each other or to other network devices, such as routers, that need access to multiple VLANs. Transport allows traffic from different VLANs to be transmitted over a single physical link, enhancing network efficiency. What means this? A transport, usually we implement a transport in the distribution sites, not into the core, not into the router, between the switches of distribution. Why? Because the information, the data that pass into the distribution switches come to a different departments. So that's mean come to a different VLANs. That's why we have to configure these ports into a trunk for example, this switch and this switch, these distribution switches. So how we can do this kind of configuration into our reader devices, into our brand? Let me show you as an example. Here in I have my Reyee Cloud website. I am logging now in my cloud, in my project. I call demonstration for this. I already logging into DIN. We have to take into account that our region. For example, I am in Latin America now, so I logging into LA cloud. So if you are in US or in another country, you have to take into account the region that we are logging. So my network is basically a router, a switch, and two access points. So we can configure a VLAN such a different ways into the cloud. I recommend this one, and we can create from here, from the cloud in our computers, and we can also create exactly the same in the same way in our phone or in our tablet. I will show you later. So we will create our VLAN here in a smart config, for example, and here we can see this, and this is a basic steps that we need to do to configure well the network. As we can see here, we can click here in add wired or wireless VLAN, and we only have to click here in to configure. If we didn't do this step, we only have to click here in network wide and click here in network. And now we can see here all the VLANs through our network. So we only have one VLAN, is the VLAN by default in my backpack. So we can create more from here. If we can click here in add, we can see wired or wireless VLAN. So I will create here a wireless VLAN. So we have to put here a Wi-Fi name, for example. Let me, I don't know, test underscore webinar. And we have to choose if we can, if we will implement this to encrypt or do not encrypt. For this case, I will put this encrypt with the password test123. We can see here, and we can see here our bands for 5. The band and the encryption weight. If we are okay, if we are agree with this, we click in next, and now we will do the configuration. The remark, for example, just one guest. Sorry, guest. And now we can put here the VLAN ID. If we remember, we have to choose a number that identify our VLAN. For example, from here, I will choose VLAN number 10, for example, and the system automatically assign to us an IP segment and a default gateway for our VLAN. From here, I put VLAN number 10, so the system recommend to us the segment 192.168.10.1. If I cannot want to use this section, I will use whatever I want. For example, that 5 or that 20 or that 25 or whatever I want. And we can change this net mask for it for matter of time and make easier this configuration. I will put 10 in our example. So okay, we put VLAN number 10, we see a default gateway, and we will see the IP segment is /24. So we only have to click in next, and later the system will show you to which device do the configuration. That we will choose a wireless VLAN, the configuration made into the router, into our switch, and into our APs. Why? Because all the clients that I plug into our APs, we will redirect to or assign into this IP segment. So we will see here, and sorry for the noise, we will see here all the configuration that we will make in our devices. From here, we will create, for example, for the APs, we will create the SSID test webinar with this password, and with the router, we will create the VLAN number, the IP segment, and the default gateway. And the switch, we will allow us to the ports 1, 2, and 5, the trunk for the interconnection for this VLAN. So we have to click here in apply, and later we will wait until we will see the configuration. As we see, we have to wait around 100 seconds or less. It's done. And we will see a tip. For example, if there are not connect APs in the project, you can plan a switch for the connect to these APs in advance. In my case, it doesn't matter. So we click in OK. We will see the tips here. For example, do a NAC for this network, but it is not matter for this time. So it's done. All the configuration is done. If I want to create another VLAN, we have to click here and continue to add. But if not, we click here in chat network, and we can see here the test 1_guest VLAN with the Wi-Fi test webinar and with the password test 12345. So we have to see if this works and how we will see. Well, here's my phone, and we will enter to this VLAN. So here I see test webinar. I click and I will join into this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me check the password and click in connect. Okay, I already connect into this. And if I see, sorry, I create another. So now I will into this segment, and as we can see here, my IP address is 192.168.10.2 and is part of the segment of this VLAN. So I already into the VLAN 10 and I see all the information here. How I manage this VLAN in the Reyee Cloud, I can manage, or I can see the configuration of the VLANs here in gateway, switch, and wireless. And how we can see this In Gateway, if I click here in Interface, I see here all the ports, and I can see, for example, if I plug something into the LAN number 0 or the LAN number 1 into my router, I can change the configuration of the ports and change the port into a access port or into a trunk port. That's why I explained this concept before. And if we can see here, the allowed VLAN is the VLAN 10 and the VLAN 233, that is a VLAN for default for this kind of devices. So I can see here my VLAN, my VLAN number 10, the test one underscore guest, and my IP segment. I can edit from here, I can remove the VLAN from here, or I can change the configuration on the list time from here, and I will make this change into the router, only into the router. If I can change the configuration of the VLAN in the switch, I have to switch and I to click here, switch VLAN, and my switch is a management switch, so I can see here my VLAN ID and I can create one or more VLANs. But we have to take into account that if I create a VLAN here, I only create the VLAN in the switch, not in the router, nor in the APs. So, and the final check, we have to see here in wireless. If I click here in SSID, I will see the test webinar SSID, and I can edit from here. And if I click here in advanced, I can see the bunch, I can see the connection between this SSID with this VLAN. So I can change, for example, the VLAN from here if I create other VLAN, of, or I can change the password, or I can manage all the things from here. So we will do exactly the same configuration into our phone or our apps. Let me show you here again my phone, and if I click here in Reyee, if the camera join me, okay, sorry, okay. If we click here in our project, sorry again, begin here, I can enter in our project and I can manage the VLAN from here too, without stay into the site. From here, we can see the workspace. Sorry. And we can click here in advanced, in a scenario, in advanced, sorry again, in advanced. And we can see here VLAN configuration. And we will see exactly the same as we see here in network-wide network. For example, here we can see the plan, our network topology, and our VLANs. And if we check here in our phone, we will see exactly the same in our app. And we can add another VLAN, for example, and we can choose wireless or wired. We choose wireless again. For example, Wi-Fi 20, blah, blah. We will be not script SSID and Wi-Fi, and we click in next, VLAN ID 20 and Wi-Fi 20, and we will click in next, and we will see exactly the same. The configuration and the IPs in the easy gateway and in the easy switch, and we click in OK. And we have to wait. And it's done. And now we can see here the 3 VLANs. And if we refresh here in the cloud, we will see our new VLAN that we create in our phone with our number and is open now. And if I change my connection to Wi-Fi 20, for example, we will see another segment. Let me show you. I am already connected in my Wi-Fi 20 network details, and now we can see we have an IP segment that allows to our VLAN 20 previous configuration. So it's very easy to create and to manage the VLAN into our network. If I will if I want to delete this configuration, I only have to click in more and delete VLAN, and the system will delete in our switch, in our router, and in our APs. For example, if I click here in delete VLAN and I click here in OK, it's success, and I will check here in interface. We only have 2. If I check into our switch, sorry, is here in VLAN, not in interface. We only have 2, and if I check here in SSID, we only have 1. So from here, we can manage all the things. So I think it's all for now. Let me show you again the QR code. And if you are any questions or doubts, please put in the comments. I will wait 2 minutes for the questions. You can scan the QR code. You have to download the application, Carlos. Oh, invalid code. Let me check the code. 1 second to see. A QR code looks well. You have to download the application. Let me show you again, Carlos, and we can see here you have to download the app. Is this icon, and let me show you here, and you have to click here in a scan, and we will open the camera and scan the QR code. After 2 or 3 seconds, you will see this demo project to do the scan successfully. Okay. Well, I think we didn't have any another questions. Thank you guys for the attendance, and thank you for your time. So let's have a good rest of the day, and we will see you later. Bye. Oh, you have to say the same problem. Carlos, you have to open the app, do a scan, and wait 3 seconds. You have to hear a beep, and later the code and we will work well. So okay, I think it's done. Thank you all, and we will see in another webinar. So have a good day. Goodbye.